Welcome to Lawyers in the House with Montlick. Wish you had a lawyer in the family? Now you do. Here's your host, Veronica Waters.
Welcome to the house, Lawyers in the House with Montlick on WSB. I'm your girl, Veronica Waters. Happy to have you back in here with me for another fabulous episode of Lawyers in the House. And I wanted to start off this week by remembering something that happened to me when I was a teenager. So there was this moment in our high school where our administrators thought that they wanted to have a dress code. And I wasn't really into the idea of this. As a matter of fact, most of us hated it. So I had this great idea that I was going to launch a protest at our high school. And we felt like we were being made to dress like prisoners. So we made up these like little prisoner numbers that we were all going to wear, you know, and march around for this day in the protest. Well, the administrators got wind of it. Our parents got wind of it. And at home, my mom is like, you can't do that. They'll suspend you. And I said, but Mom, everybody's doing it. And my mom said, well, if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you do that too? And I said, well, no, but that's not the same thing. So today, friends, as we sit here on Lawyers in the House with Montlick on WSB, we're going to talk a little bit about stuff that everybody's doing that you may not think is all that bad, but there could be some hidden dangers out there that we are yet to learn. Now, walking us through this journey is a Montlick Injury Attorney who happens to be my fave. Her name is Nikki Montlick. Welcome back to the house, Nikki.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Nikki Montlick has been in the halls of Montlick since she was a tiny tot, and that is because, yes, she is that Montlick. She has literally climbed the ranks throughout the law firm to get to what is not even yet the pinnacle of her career, becoming an attorney. But you have done so much at the firm, Nikki, starting from when you were so young.
Yeah. I love it. It's a real privilege to be able to work for business that my dad started and has worked so hard and put so much heart and soul into. And we just have a really incredible team of people. I feel really lucky.
I remember you saying once that you felt like being in law was not so much a career as it is a calling. What do you mean by that?
I would say as I've gotten further into my career, is to really leverage your education, your expertise to help people. And that's something that is really important to me, especially when we're going to talk about things like we're talking about today, products liability, and educating the public about things that could be potentially really, really harmful to their health.
Yeah. Did you realize when you were little that you were going to end up in this career? Like, did you always know that you'd end up following in your dad's footsteps, or was it something that you kind of came to along the way?
Yeah, I think I always knew.
Yeah.
I think I always knew, and I really surprised myself by how much I loved it, and I never had a doubt in my mind, really.
Yeah. You talked too about the last time you were here, you were mentioning the added responsibility that you feel. There's something different about you've done so much with the firm's public service programs and all this kind of stuff, but actually becoming a lawyer and starting to take on cases. And through that journey, you felt like even more, I guess, added responsibility, you said?
Yeah, I think it's really a responsibility of attorneys to give back to the community. I have gained a tremendous respect as I get further into it and I work with different professionals. I've gained a real respect for the profession. And I think lawyers do play a really important role in society in not only protecting people's rights and protecting the Constitution, but protecting people from harm and large manufacturers who really don't have their best interest.
And a lawyer who is protecting your best interests, Nikki Montlick with Montlick Injury Attorneys. Nikki, thanks so much for being back in the house.
Thanks. So happy to be here.
So I started off the show saying that we were talking about that thing that reminded me of what probably all of our moms have said to us at one time, but everybody's doing it. And we have found ourselves in a place in time and space in which we want to feel good, but we also want to look good. There's a lot of attention on social media. There's a lot of attention on everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody's videoing all of the time. And now it seems that we will go to some really great extremes to look, especially the way that we think society wants us to look. How do we get here, Nikki?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. in your comment, we do live in a very image-based culture. Everything is hyper visual. And I think that's really fueled the popularity of a lot of these weight loss medications that we're seeing. They're so prevalent in our culture all of a sudden. And we're seeing this not just from an aspirational lens when we look at celebrities. We have people like Kim Kardashian and Kelly Clarkson and Oprah Winfrey who are very, they are really in the spotlight in our culture. And, Oprah Winfrey very recently came out publicly and admitted to taking one of these medications. And we're just seeing a whole nother level of accessibility and aspirational thinking and really easily being able to get a lot of these weight loss medications. But unfortunately, there are some really serious risks associated with taking them that we're really just now finding out the extent of, and we're going to continue to learn more as time goes on.
I am really excited that Montlick is sort of jumping into the fray here and letting people know that there is a place where they can go to get some answers, to see whether or not they might be at risk, and to see if they are, that there's some help available for them. I mean, I think at this point, a bunch of us have heard about these lawsuits that are forming against some of these weight loss drugs. I don't know the names of all of them, but they are Ozempic and Wegovy. And it was, I think for a while, Ozempic was maybe only known well to doctors who were using it to treat diabetes patients.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's really interesting. This drug was originally prescribed to treat diabetes, and they kind of found out by happenstance that one of the side effects of taking the drug is it caused really quick and significant weight loss. This Ozempic is it's a semaglutide, and there's a few other drugs, Mounjaro and Wegovy, like you mentioned, and they're produced by two main manufacturers. It's Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly. And these drugs are GLP-1 class drugs, which means that, like you said, they're primarily used for treating diabetes. And the way that they function is that they delay gastric emptying. And that's another way of saying it slows down how fast our stomach empties food into the intestines. And this causes an appetite suppression effect, and it causes you to stay full longer.
Yeah, because it makes you feel full. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're administered via injection once a week. And they've really skyrocketed to popularity, so much so that, there's been gyms that, as part of their membership, they'll administer the drug to you in the gym.
No way. Shut up.
Yeah.
Are you serious? That seems like a lawsuit waiting to happen. Not kidding. I mean, and tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm exaggerating, but that seems like, who gets injections at their gym?
It's very ironic when you really think about it. But the unfortunate thing is that there's some major side effects associated with taking Ozempic or any other semaglutide medication that the manufacturer did not warn doctors and patients about. And, they're pretty jarring. The main side effects are gastroparesis, which is delayed stomach emptying, and intestinal obstruction. And gastroparesis is a subset of, it happens when you experience stomach paralysis. So essentially, your digestive system is not functioning naturally.
So are you just saying so you can't go?
I'm sure that's a side effect of that. Yes.
You have blockages. I mean, I'm trying to understand what this actually means.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is. But that's really scratching the surface. There's likely going to be other side effects discovered after more investigation that we don't know about at this point. And this is a drug that was designed to be taken for life, or at least for many, many years. And we haven't seen the full long-term impact of taking these drugs.
And is that what's actually fueling the lawsuits then, the discovery of these uncomfortable side effects?
So if someone is experiencing gastroparesis or an intestinal blockage, especially a severe one, they may be able to file a claim on the basis that they were not warned of the side effects. It's a general rule that manufacturers have a duty to warn of any foreseeable risks that are associated with the product. So that means risks that they know about or they should know about. And these two manufacturers did not do this here. So they didn't issue a proper warning, and doctors therefore weren't able to inform patients of the real risks with these drugs. So unfortunately, people who are taking these drugs are really guinea pigs at this point, because they're not aware of the side effects, and we don't know the full implications of taking these drugs.
So, Nikki, you're talking about these side effects. Now, is this a guarantee that if I'm taking one of these drugs that I'm going to get the side effect?
So these are potential side effects. And as with taking any pharmaceutical, there are almost always potentially risks associated with it. There's been estimates that suggest between 1 to 10% of the population who are using Ozempic or semaglutide could experience either gastroparesis or an intestinal obstruction. So this is about 1.7% of individuals who are taking GLP-1 class drugs who have reported 1 or 2 of these side effects. While 1.7%, it doesn't sound like a lot. When you consider the amount of people who are taking this drug, this translates to potentially millions of people.
Yeah, that's millions of people who are out there. I remember that Ozempic was called Hollywood's worst kept secret at one time because I think way back when I saw the headlines start to form about it, it was because all of these celebrities were suddenly losing weight really fast, and this was how it came out. So when you think about going forward on something like this, you do have to sort of think, hey, let the buyer beware, caveat emptor, right? You need to sort of understand what you're getting into. But to your point, a lot of people are taking these drugs, even if they're not diabetic. They're taking it for weight loss, and they can do it safely. And, it's men and women who are taking this. It's not just, girls trying to look skinny on the Insta. It's guys trying to bulk up too. Yeah.
Absolutely. It really is the job of these manufacturers to inform people of the risks, and then they can kind of do a risk-benefit analysis and decide if it's worth it to them. And, there's a whole plethora of different people who are taking these drugs. We have people who are really suffering from obesity, and then we have some who maybe are not. So there's, I think, a large scale of people, and they're really being prescribed in mass. But the bottom line is that people should be educated and be able to make an informed decision about the medications that they're taking.
Coming up next on Lawyers in the House with Montlick, the dangers not in your medicine cabinet, but out there in the medical field. We're going to get more into those and what could happen to you when you're just trying to look cute. Is there a danger there? That's coming up. Be right back. Welcome back to the house, Lawyers in the House with Montlick on WSB. I'm Veronica Waters here hosting my fave, Montlick Injury Attorney, Nikki Montlick, and we're talking about the fact that sometimes, let's be honest, beauty hurts. Not to make light of it, but there are some liabilities out there with some of the most popular products, things that have taken off in the news recently. We're hearing about it because everybody from your next door neighbor to your favorite celebrity is in on this weight loss drug stuff. We just had a whole segment talking about the ones like Wegovy and Ozempic and Mounjaro, I think you said. Is that what it's called? There are so many of them, and people are doing almost anything that it takes to get them, right, to the sadness of diabetics who sometimes can't find their much needed medication. And then some of us, a small amount of us, will find that we're hurt from taking the drug.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just really important that people are informed about their products and different drugs, especially. There's a severity that comes along with that, and people should be free to make their own informed decisions. And in order to do that, they need the proper information.
I think we should say that while there are dozens upon dozens of class action lawsuits that are now being filed, and people are starting to come to firms like yours to say, hey, I think I might have a case here, I'm really hurting from this, that the manufacturers, especially those we've been talking about today, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, say, look, we did it. You can look on the label and you can see the warning, and we've made the dangers, any possible side effect dangers, clear to the consumer. So don't come at us with a lawsuit. And, my question is, as a consumer, is whatever warning that might be on a label or on a website something that I know and I understand?
Well, just to clarify on that, the Ozempic and these weight loss medication lawsuits are actually because those manufacturers failed to issue a proper warning of these potential side effects. But as for anything, there needs to be not only a warning label, but there needs to be a proper warning label of any foreseeable risks, and that goes for weight loss medication or what some of the other things we're going to talk about, like these LED and UV lights that are used for gel manicures.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because not only are we talking about the things that we're doing on the inside when it comes to weight loss, but we're talking about the beauty treatments that happen on the outside. And most of this is women. And there could be women in your life that you know, or girls, you know, your mom, your cousin, your wife, your daughter. There could be danger at their fingertips and they don't even know it. That's coming up next on Lawyers in the House with Montlick. And welcome back to the house. It's Lawyers in the House with Montlick on WSB. I'm your girl, Veronica Waters, here with Montlick Injury Attorney Nikki Montlick. And we're calling this episode, But Everybody's Doing It, when really it's all about product liability. Are the things that we're doing to look good and feel good dangerous? You might be surprised at some of the nuggets of info that Nikki dropped in the first half of our show. So if you missed it, don't worry. Just remember to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also find us on YouTube and rewind as much as you want to get exactly all the information that you need to know whether or not there is danger right around the corner or in your medicine cabinet. And also remember, keep up with us every single day of the week, not just on show day, on every social media platform at Montlick Law. Can't wait to see you there. Nikki, I don't mean to make light of it when I say that we're talking about, but everybody's doing it. You know, it's like what I talked about like when I was a teenager. But Mom, all my friends are doing it. Today, we don't even think about how much of this is normalized. We just expect that, to the point that you just made when we were going to break, we want our nails to look good. We're going to go to the salon and get all sparkly.
It's a really, I think, it's a common expectation, especially in corporate culture, for women to have their nails done. It's also, something fun that a lot of women like doing as well. Unfortunately, there's some really severe risks that have come out recently associated with getting gel manicures.
It seems like such a harmless thing to do. And it's so like when I'm at the salon, I'm thinking I'm just there to get a good mani and relax.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really common misconception that LED light, which most of these lamps, and I'll explain what it's like when you get a gel manicure really quickly, but it's a really common misconception that these LED lamps are not dangerous. And these UV and LED lights actually emit the same frequency and sometimes more than that of tanning beds. And we know,
whoa,
yeah. And we know that tanning beds have been linked to really serious skin cancers.
Yeah. That danger came to light, and we saw a lot of tanning salons like go kaput. It's all about the self-tanner now, right? Or the spray tan. Nobody wants to consciously, or like few people really want to consciously subject themselves in their bodies to like cancer-causing rays, right?
Yeah, of course.
But you're telling me I'm doing this at the nail salon?
Yeah. So a little bit about gel manicures for those who haven't gotten one. It requires you to put your nails multiple times underneath an LED or a UV light. And these lights emit ultraviolet light. And you often have to do it multiple times, and it cures the polish, and it hardens it, and it makes it more durable. And it lasts longer, so a lot of women prefer to get a gel manicure versus a regular one. But it's no secret that UV light is dangerous, and it's no secret what it does to humans. Not only it decreases collagen and it diminishes elasticity and it accelerates the aging process, it's also, it increases your risk of skin cancer. And UV light has been a major factor in the development of melanoma and non-melanoma skin cancer.
It is so shocking to hear, but your lights, those lights, and if you can't, try to picture like a little tiny tabletop igloo if you can. That's kind of the shape sort of what these little devices look like. So you get the stuff on your hands. I'm telling this to the folks who don't ever get gel manicures, or you're not in there with your girl when she's getting them. Okay, so and then you put your hand inside the little device, and the light comes on automatically, and it just doesn't seem, Nikki, like it's really dangerous. It's such a small little machine.
Yeah. And it's interesting. This isn't talked about either, but a lot of people actually experience burns from these machines, especially if you have skin that's more pigmented. And that should tell you something on its face just by, 30 seconds to a minute and exposure at a time. It's often repeated that it can cause burns at a minimum. And that's just the damage that we can see and feel.
Now, is this proven? Nikki? Are we just speculating here?
Yeah, this is proven. There was a really a major study done in 2023 that was a game changer. It was the first study that had been done that actually looked at the damage caused by these lights at a molecular and a cellular level to humans. And what they found, unfortunately, I think is, I'm sorry to ruin it for the people who like to get gel manicures, but it should be a really major deterrent in continuing to get these. It was for me at least.
Wow. So you can actually go to a scientific study that shows, hey, this is cancer causing, and we can see it under the microscope in these samples. This is what is happening.
A recent study was done in 2023, and it was conducted by the University of San Diego and the University of Pittsburgh. And what they did is they looked at how these lights affected people at a cellular and a molecular level. And they found that the UV lights actually, they damaged people's DNA. And the damage to the DNA caused cellular mutations, which increased the risk of skin cancer at any point where there was exposure. So, I mean, this could potentially lead to cancerous lesions on your fingers, on your toes, on your nail beds, and in really severe situations could lead to an amputation.
I would never think that going to get my nails done would lead me to cancer treatment. Have you ever known of this actually playing out in real life?
I know people who have experienced this, and unfortunately, I think just now we're really starting to see the repercussions of women who have been getting gel manicures for many, many years. And they really rose to popularity in the 2010s. And so I think around this time, we're starting to see women who have been getting manicures for 10, 15 years, had multiple exposures over a long period of time. And unfortunately, we're just at the start of research on this. But I think a lot more is going to come out, as it should.
So someone who maybe started getting the gel manis as a teenager could now, as a young adult, be seeing some really serious consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to tell you just how bad the cellular damage was, because it really shocked me. The study that they did looked at mammalian cells, which are cells from mammals, and they took cells from humans and from mice, and they subjected them to different lengths of UV exposure. So they took the first batch, they did a 20-minute session of UV exposure using the same lamps that we use in the nail salons. And they found that just 20 minutes, 20 to 30% of the cells died. Then they did it again. They had 3 consecutive 20-minute sessions, and they found that 65 to 70% of the exposed cells died. And I know you may be thinking, the human body has really exceptional regenerative properties. But if you look at the cells that didn't die, they experienced severe mitochondrial and DNA damage, which resulted in mutations that had patterns that had been seen in people who had skin cancer.
Wow. That is so frightening. It's so frightening. And is there any way to know that that as my fingertips are in this little tiny igloo of UV light, that I'm going through this process? Does it hurt? Like, do people report that it was painful? Because I don't feel anything.
Yeah, no, they don't. I mean, similar to a tanning bed, you really don't know the extent of the damage. But when you look at this evidence, and keep in mind, this is the first study that's been done on this. We don't know the full extent of the damage. And if you think about someone doing this 10, 15 years, that's a lot more repeated exposure than what's been done in this study. It really, really strongly suggests that there's a link between UV radiation and skin cancer.
It's incredible. I think so. You reminded me that on one of our shows about beauty treatments and the dangers that we did with Alyssa and Jennifer, I believe it was, and we talked about that kind of thing. And I remember sending my nail salon owner, Di, an article that talked about these dangerous lights. And she says, she knew that. And she's like, I haven't used those lights for years. And I felt really good to know that I was going to a place that was so conscious about the safety of its customers and the reputation of itself, that they would be ahead of the curve when it came to finding ways that you could cure polishes or make people look beautiful and not put them in danger. And it made me feel so great that I've been going there for like 20 years. It's really a wonderful place. But it's so frightening again to me that how many of us would know that if we weren't having this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's amazing that they did that, but it's really not common knowledge about the dangers of this. And And I don't think we knew the full extent of it too. I mean, dermatologists have had concerns for many years, and this really confirmed them. They've been advising people when they get these manicures, wear the highest type of SPF you can wear and put it all on your fingers and around your nail beds. And they actually make fingerless gloves. Supposedly they're SPF blocking, where you can go and you have gloves that don't have the fingers, and you can put your hands in the machine and the majority of your hand is covered, but still, your nail beds are exposed. It's not the same as just avoiding it completely. But I think this study was really, really revealing, and hopefully it's going to inspire more research to be done, and it'll make more people aware of these dangers.
I think it's so, I just can't get over the chill of thinking that I'm walking into a place where I'm just coming to relax. I go every couple of weeks, my bestie and I. And to think that I would be putting myself in danger, right? I'm walking out of there with permanently changed DNA just because I wanted some sparkly nails. I mean, that's so scary. And so many women and girls are doing this. It could be anybody. It could be anybody who's doing this. Even a guy who's sitting there getting a manicure might get a clear polish and get that gel, the gel clear polish or something, and put his hands in the lamp. I mean, there's nobody who's really immune to this, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, no one is immune to it. And we saw it with tanning beds. It was a really normalized practice. And, people did it quite frequently. And it's interesting that this is the same mechanism that's in these devices that are in tanning beds, yet there's really little to no discussion about the danger of it.
You're right. Nobody ever really talks about it. It's really, really eye-opening for me. And the nail salons themselves and the spas who are offering these services, there's no disclaimer, right? There's no waiver there that you have to sign.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, it's interesting. Another thing that hasn't been discussed that could be considered is what's the secondhand exposure from these lights of the nail techs who are sitting there and using it day in and day out. I mean, is there potential danger there too? And are they made aware when they buy the product?
And what about the chemicals that you're constantly smelling there? I mean, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation for sure.
I am curious to know whether or not the lawsuits then for the UV lamp danger is based on the same kind of thing. Is it a failure to warn?
Yeah, so the logic is really similar. And similarly, manufacturers have a duty to warn about dangers they know about or should know about. It's the foreseeable risks associated with the use of the product. And they also can be held accountable if they purposely withhold or misrepresent any danger. And it seems based off this study that it's really challenging to deny that there's significant risks associated with using these lamps. And I'm hopeful as more data comes out that there will be a really informative label and it'll be more widespread that there's danger associated with the use.
Yeah. Declare the danger. Don't downplay the danger. Be upfront about the danger. Thank you so much, Nikki Montlick. Coming up on Lawyers in the House with Montlick, the Montlick closing argument. Don't you miss it. It's Lawyers in the House with Montlick on WSB. I'm Veronica Waters here with Montlick Injury Attorney Nikki Montlick, and you've been waiting for it. It's the Montlick closing argument. Nikki Montlick, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's really important that just because something is wildly popular and normalized in our culture, it doesn't mean that it is necessarily safe to use, and it doesn't mean that it won't be considered dangerous in the future. We look to tanning beds, like we touched on. We look at cigarettes or chemical hair straightening treatments, which now have come out, have been linked to cancer. That's why it's just really important to be your own advocate and do your research and stay aware when it comes to things coming up like this and research coming out. You really have to be your own advocate, and that's why it's really important too. If you are injured as a result of a product that's caused you harm or any other reason, you really need to hire an attorney that you trust and that is informed and educated and really invested in this. And I would say, we're here at Montlick Injury Attorneys to support anyone who is going through something like this. And we've made it our personal mission to try to educate the community as much as possible.
I have to say, speaking from the consumer point of view, though, Nikki, if nobody can tell me straight on, hey, this is dangerous. Okay, like some people are going to walk away from this show and be like, I'm not doing gel manicures again. But if you're in that period of time before the science comes out, before the research is done, and nobody can just straight out say, hey, this is dangerous. If you're saying, well, you can't tell me that it's dangerous and you can't tell me it's not dangerous, so I'm going to err on the side of looking cute, and I'm going to go forward with it. I mean, that's a huge populace right there.
Yeah, I mean, I would advise you to err on the side of caution over looking cute. And that's, of course, easier said than done. And it's really easy to fall into that mob mentality. But this is kind of the trend of how things have gone, is we don't really know the risks of things until they're too late. And that's why it's really important to try to educate yourself as much as possible and really be cautious.
So we've talked about some of the major things today. We talked about the UV lamps with the nails, and we talked about the weight loss drugs. And I think maybe what I'm hearing is, if I'm starting to feel like there might be some symptoms or some side effects that are ringing a bell here, maybe that's the time to pick up the phone.
If someone's experiencing symptoms like that, we're here for you. You can call us at 1-800-LAW-NEED or #WIN or any, Montlick.com. You can also reach us, but we're here to help, and that's our job.
Thank you so much to Montlick Injury Attorney Nikki Montlick. I'm Veronica Waters here on Lawyers in the House with Montlick. You know, we all want to look good. We all want to feel good. But I don't think that any of us believes that it's worth risking our physical health and our lives just to take a cute picture on the social media. So keep that in mind as you're picking your beauty treatments from here on out. I know that I will. Thanks so much for teaching me about it, Nikki. We'll see you next time here on Lawyers in the House with Montlick on WSB.